All right, tonight we got a wonderful guest. We have Marques Littles. And Marques Littles, he's a little bit of everything. He's an urban cowboy, he's a paranormal experiencer, and he's a professional horseback rider. And I rode horses twice in my life. For Huachuca, Arizona, I was riding horses and I was pretty good at it. And at Sanchez Adobe Ranch off of Highway number 1, I would go over that ranch. The guy used to have me shovel shit. And then, and I was, that was my first girlfriend with Cal Nunez. Her father had Sanchez Adobe Ranch, and that's where I learned how to ride horses. But anyway, thank you so much, Marques, for being here with us. You have some things going on at your house.
Yes.
You're a paranormal experiencer. And what is some of the stuff that's been happening at your house?
So to give a little backstory, just give you a little bit more insight, make it even more a little crazier. So September 17th, 2022, I woke up in the morning, wasn't feeling right. And, I ended up getting rushed to the hospital with a stroke. So they did a CT scan and MRI on me and found in my right frontal lobe, I had a blood clot in there, which caused me to be paralyzed on my whole left side. So they gave me something called a TPA, which was like a very powerful clot buster. So I looked at the X-ray scans that I had in my body to, because they did a CT with contrast and everything to see where your blood blocked at, all that stuff. And, they were just like, man, it's going to be quite a while before you can walk again. You're going to have to go through physical therapy, occupational therapy. And then maybe around a year later, I start looking into my camera system and I'm laying in the bed. And I start seeing this glowing object that was flying around, and I was just like, wow, my wife is like, man, did you see that, babe? That's amazing. What is that? So after a while, 6 months goes by and we're continuously seeing this thing in our backyard, and it's going into 2023 now, and we're just wondering like, hold on a second, like, is this thing going to stop? So we start calling around to, get a little bit of insight for our family to see what we were dealing with, whether it's a bad spirit or, good spirit or entity like an ET or anything like that. And then one night, my wife and I, because we live in a pretty big house, our energy bill is kind of crazy. So we make sure we turn our lights off, and we turned all the lights off, turned the TV off, kissed each other goodnight, showered, everything, got dressed. And I woke up at 3:33 in the morning and my wife is looking at me and I'm looking at her sitting in the bed, just confused and dazed as if we've taken a crazy amount of medication or we were drunk or something like that. And, we just didn't understand what was going on. So 2 weeks afterwards, and during this time also, we're still seeing this entity flying around, going through our window sills, through our actual windows in our backyard, and this flying is getting bigger each time we see it. And I had another CT and MRI, and the doctors told me that they don't understand what's going on. They try to rule it out as something called conversion, but my CT scans and my MRIs don't look anything similar. It's almost as if I've never had a stroke, and I'm up back riding horses again all of a sudden. And, it's something that they really can't explain. And it's something I've been trying to figure out myself. I went from riding horses my whole life to being paralyzed in my whole left side with a stroke to all of a sudden, one day I'm just able to get up and move, and that's something that my wife has watched herself and she's still baffled by it. Doctors are baffled by it. I've seen multiple neurologists with Kaiser, Lodi Memorial here in Sacramento. I've had physical therapy in home and outpatient. And my physical therapist is just like, I saw you, I felt you, I've poked you. I hit your knee with a little hammer to see your reflexes. There was nothing. And now all of a sudden, like, you're back to normal. Like, it's something we've never seen before. And as you've probably seen on TV, this guy named Stanley Romanek, he was having
the thing that was going through his house. I was thinking when you said that, the thing that was going over him and his wife through that looked really. What color was yours, by the way? Sorry to interrupt.
So mine was shrouded in white light with a white top, and it was see-through. It was all black in the middle. It was almost like it was an orb that carried a cape behind it, and this is what I saw sitting on the edge of my bed. I woke up one night and I have a California king size bed, and it has 2 drawers in the end. It's kind of like an area where you could sit on and change your shoes on the end. And I woke up and it was sitting on my bed. The white orb was as if it was the head. The lines that was coming around was almost like it was a silhouette of a body. And I could still see the TV on through this thing. And I'm just like, whoa, something's going on. I'm freaking out, you know. I, I'm waking up from a dream or something. But I'm like, wait, I haven't even, wait, am I asleep or am I not? So maybe around an hour later, my 16-year-old daughter comes banging on my door, bow, 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 bow. And I thought she was gonna break my door down. She's like, Daddy, something's in my room. I was like, what do you mean? It was sitting on a chair in her room also that same night. Yeah. So that's something that's unexplainable.
Well, when it comes to your child, anything like that, I mean, but that sounds like Stan Romanek too, because kept going in his daughter's room by the window. Remember?
Yeah, by the window. And also, when Stan woke up, he had his knee brace that was the metal that was inside of his knee. It was laying on his nightstand, and it had the same serial number and everything from when he got placed in 15 years ago. So whatever thing is happening, whether we were abducted or whether this thing is coming in, performing experiments on us on whatever type, Stanley Romanek went through the same thing. So I'm not alone in this, you know, in this situation of something paranormal or out of this world experience happening to individuals in my town or in any town in the United States. You know, it's proof that there was life beyond humans, you know, and whatever that life is, whether it's an entity that lives in the space between space, what they call a watcher, you know, or something that's, you know, just living in our realm, a shapeshifter or anything, or crossing. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's but like you said, you know, as far as the you know, it coming to the room, coming, you know, from outside through the windows, over around you, you know, that type of light, you know, it's been seen, you know, people know that it's real. I mean, so when you said that, like, I got chills. Also, Jim Sparks, and I think he's like the Guinness Book of World Records for like most abducted. I mean, it's not a thing, but he was a real estate agent. And when I was following for a while since the 90s, but the thing he said is the one time we had him in a ship and that he was on this, it was like a stainless steel room sitting on a stainless steel fixture. And he said he put a black box on the table. And he was like, and he would always cuss at him because he really didn't understand what was going on. So for every day he would cuss, and he said every now and then when he would be nice, they would say, okay, we have a gift for you. So they put the box and said, well, what is this? What am I supposed to do with this? And they didn't say anything. So he turned it around and they said, and he said in his mind, he said, aren't you going to say thank you? And he was like, well, what for? And they said, well, touch the top of the box. So when he touched the top, the lid slid. He didn't know how that happened, but he said it was black liquid in there. And he said the black liquid, they said, we clean your lungs out for you. We told you to stop smoking. And so they had cleaned his lungs out for him. Yeah. Until, you know, that was one thing that happened on the ship. And you know, the doctors, everybody verified how clean he was. And, you know, I had another story where a lady was playing for a poodle. They had a dog that they really loved. The grandmother was praying like all night. She said, just all night. And she said this green entity came in. She said it went through the house. And she said the next day the dog was healed. I heard something like that too. But, you know, to go on. So, man, when you said it, it gave me chills.
Yeah. So Paul has sent me some things that, you know, I researched on and I've been looking into it, something called light rods, right? So these light rods, people say they could be plasma balls from electricity poles or high voltage power lines or anything like that. But these things look completely different. I'm talking about this thing is shape shifting in the camera. It's say if it was right here, it'll disappear halfway, and then it'll pop up with a giant black cape behind it, like 4 feet after. And mind you, my camera system, I have a Google Nest camera system surrounding my whole home. And this thing has been caught on multiple times on all the cameras, like literally flying through my window in my backyard, you know, and it's so crazy to see these things like on camera on the infrared, because I have video also of me outside sitting in my friend's car right in front of my front door. And this thing comes out of the wall. And it's just flying out. And I'm just like, hold on, I didn't even see that with the naked eye. which means this thing is completely cloaked and invisible to humans, and it can only be seen with some type of infrared magnification or something like that, you know. And for that to have its own light shrouded in it is something quite unexplainable and amazing.
And I actually received the honor of seeing some of the security footage that Marcus took. And some of it is really amazing. I mean, they're flying at incredible speed. And there was that one that did look like, to me, like a rod.
In the front yard.
Funny, yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Stanley Romanov. I had an honor of interviewing him back in 2004.
Oh, wow, bro. Okay, I didn't know that.
Very nice guy. Very nice guy. Yeah, I had it. I did it for the Sacramento Press. So his interview is still with Sacramento Press, but yeah, he's another one with an interesting story.
Very nice.
Now, you were telling me, I think it was your mother-in-law. Did she bless the house?
My mother. So my mother received blessed oil from a very powerful pastor here in Sacramento. And she came and she blessed all of our doors, all of our windows, and every single inch of our home where anything could possibly have an entry or exit, even above our garage doors. And I have a feeling that the previous owners here had experienced something also. And the reason why I say that is because above my back door of my home, I have a sliding glass door. There is a strip of Chinese writing that was going down the wall. And then on each side of my garage, on each pillar, there is a strip of Chinese writing. On a strip of my front door of my house, there is a strip of Chinese writing. So whatever they were seeing was coming, which they were trying to keep it out, you know. But there's something else that happened in my home that my daughters experienced. And it's all of my daughters. I have quite a few daughters, but they were sleeping one night. Me and my wife are in our rooms. It's probably about like maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. And we hear a man's voice. You know, you can see how high my ceilings are over here, you know, very high voltage ceilings. So it was as if a man was standing downstairs screaming. I heard it. My wife heard it. My children heard it. And they all came running to my room, banging on my door. So I let them in. He's like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? There's a man screaming. So, you know, me being the cowboy, I ended up and went downstairs and looked around to see if there's any intruders. There was nobody there. So we had called the landlords, you know, and said, hey, did any of your previous tenants get hurt here or anything like that? You know, did anybody pass away here? Because we're hearing this screaming, you know, and I thought it was maybe somebody was watching TV downstairs or something, but no, TVs were off. All the kids are upstairs asleep. It woke them up out of their sleep and they came running to my room. So there's something that's been, like say some type of apparition that's in my home that's flying around somewhere and tormenting us because my daughters, you know, a lot of times they just won't sleep. You know, my oldest, she'll stay up for days. She won't go to sleep. And she doesn't like how it feels when she sleeps. She says it feels like something's watching her. And she came to me one time and she said that when I wake up, sometimes I can't move and I can't speak and I can't really even do anything but think something in my mind. And she said, I don't know if the thing is truly responding to me or whatever's sitting on my chest. But she explained to me that the same thing that I saw on the edge of my bed and she saw on the chair in her room was the same thing that she saw that she couldn't see through sitting on her body. She saw the pressure. People say sleep paralysis. I say apparition. I say something.
And after your mother did the cleansing, you're still having paranormal activity?
No, because that was before the cleansing. So this after the cleansing, we see the thing outside, but it can't come in
outside. Yeah, it's not inside.
Not inside.
Good.
Not inside, but we can see it on camera hovering next to our windows. Just like almost as if it bumps into the glass.
It's almost like the movie Sinners. Can I get it? Can I come inside?
And allow them inside.
Yeah.
Exactly. Did you so happen to play any of the footage that I sent you on the podcast? Or could you do that?
Yeah, I played everything.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. So this thing right here that I'm talking about, like you see it in the camera one time and it's growing in size. And you see it the next time, now it's 3 times larger. And you see it again now 5 times, 6 times larger, to where it's almost taking out the whole camera screen. And the orb is going around the black cloaking device of whatever it is, and whatever it is has some type of technology that is so advanced to where the human eye, which sees, only a certain amount of frequency, it's not able to catch it, and the cameras are catching that.
Yeah, and every video you sent me, I watched. So yeah,
Wild.
yeah, it is. It's wild. It's wild.
Make sure you send them to me, Paul, so I can add them to the episode.
Oh well, I'll have Marcus send it to you directly.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He can actually send it now. He can actually probably share the screen if he send it now. But Marcus, you also got to check out. I think it's got Paul Reggio. He's he started recording antimatter refracted light, and what happened was him and his wife. He was a professor. Him and his wife had a reverse lens on their telescope, and they were going for refracted light, like antimatter light,
like dark matter.
Well, yeah, unstable, just like that. But what they found out is they started seeing 3 different type of beings operating in this frequency. Well, one, like what you said, they said one was an all black entity. Then they said one was like full of charged energy. And they said one was invisible, but it wasn't that it's invisible, it's that it was so hot, the signature to the human eye couldn't be seen. And yes, and said that these things all dealing in unstable matter like that, being able to hold all this, they said whoever it was wielded tremendous power. But they explained it. They even went as far as to get Sony to build them a giant convex lens instead of the concave one, so they can go ahead and catch like some of this stuff. I don't know what became of him. It was the last time I was like 2018, 19, I heard of him. But yeah, he talked about the being and he talked about the energy growing. Also, the gentleman who discovered the FM radio, William Hine, that gentleman that talked about
Marconi?
The one that talked about the dark matter entities that grow like that, that are on the FM frequency and they're eating our energy. He talked about that as well. Kind of sounds similar, the description. But anyway.
Man, I feel like I'm living in a movie right now. It's like something that's on FM frequency that's eating our energy. And it's like we put that into the air with our radio systems and AM, frequency. So it's like, whoa, like, are we truly feeding these otherworldly objects or entities, with our radio systems, which is, if you think about it, all these demonic things that are going on in the music industry, and they're playing it all on FM radio,
Frequency. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, the low tones that they reach into achieve these things. Well, that's like Jack Parsons doing the sex magic rituals, dark magic rituals with Ron L. Hubbard, and trying to reach that frequency. But they thought those experiments were so good that the government took those over. And it was determined, they said, hey, 50% wanted, hey, look, we can stop. This is pretty dark. And the rest were like, hey, in the name of technology, let's keep going. But some of those entities were always the ones like make deals, but don't stick to deals. Same thing. Everything was like deception from what they were saying. But did you hear about Freddie Brown, that whistleblower from Immaculate Constellation, who said that God is real? After all he said about the aliens, what he knows about us living in the Matrix, this is a simulation. He's a whistleblower. He got deep saying it really is a simulation and blah, blah, blah. But then at the last cap of his thing, he said God is real. He said that like they told him that. Not like he wasn't saying it like I'm religious. It wasn't like he was saying like they told him that. Yeah.
That's wild. That's wild. Because I'm just like, if the ET created us, from what people say, then who created the ETs? And then who created the ETs?
And they even say that the universe is alive. And they say that Earth is alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I call it Mother Nature. She has her temptations and her feelings and her frustrations, which come out in the form of volcanoes, hurricanes, or tornadoes, or things like that. We ruin the earth, and the earth has a way of showing us that, it has feelings also. So.
It said it in Enoch. It said it in Enoch, if you want to know if there's that. It said how when the giants and those children, whenever all the abuse they were doing to the earth, eating each other, drinking blood, cannibalism, the earth itself, Enoch, the earth itself, Gabriel was telling the Lord, the earth itself was reproving the giants. It sounded like, man, we as a living being, it was talking to us saying, can you help us? You know, at that point, it's wow, they're referring to it as a living being, you know, of course. So
Right. And you can see what they're talking about now, how the Euphrates River is drying up and they can hear the horns and the trumpets of the, of the fallen angels, they can hear the roars of the demons and everything in there. And I'm just like, wow, you know what? I believe that in a sense, because when I took my journeys in the military over to Iraq, we had to cross the Euphrates River, and me being a man of religion, it's something that was just really supernatural about the area. So when we crossed over our pontoon bridges and our striker vehicles and the 25th Brigade combat team, striker brigade combat team, we literally were all like, does this kind of feel eerie to you? And I was just like, I don't know how to explain it. It's almost as if like you ever touch one of those balls with like electrode in the middle and all.
They have like the exploratorium in San Francisco. Yeah.
It's like you don't feel like a super difference, but your body's like, I could tell there's electricity going through me, but I don't know how to define the sensation. That's how it kind of felt, and everybody said the same thing. We don't know how to describe and put this in a definition what the sensation feels like or what our minds are telling us, but we all felt the same thing. And it wasn't just me as an African American. I have my fellow buddies that are white. I have other buddies that are Black, Mexican, from all around the world. One of my friends was from Peru, and he felt the same thing, and I'm just like, okay, this isn't just me. This isn't just to either a specific nationality or a specific place in the world. This is everyone. It's from all around the world. We're a conglomerate of soldiers, coming to fight on this one force. So it's like, hold on a second. Like everybody's body is feeling this same type of electrical charge. And it's not just me. That means that whatever is here is either we're being electrocuted in our vehicle, but it's 6 vehicles that felt the same thing with 6 guys apiece, So it's something that's very powerful under that Euphrates River that I truly believe could be either fallen angels, or could be awakening some type of spirit that is getting ready to show mankind what it's truly made out of.
It's funny about what you said about the horns. Just to throw this in there, because I heard this in it, and it didn't trip me out, but it was something to think about. They said a lot of times those horns. They said right now it's a bunch of elites that been built in like really elaborate cities, and a lot of that should be the drills and some of the equipment that they're using when they're making these cities. Now, that sounds very plausible. Somebody said it, but what you talking about the horns? Like they have in the Book of Revelations, and that's different. But I feel you when they said the Euphrates drying up. Also, what also happened was when Samyaza, the number one fallen angel who was over Zazel, Satan, when he fell, God put him in denial, which is in the Middle East, close to that. He said, you'll be chained there until Judgment Day, which he said, so however many generations that was, but what happened is Samyaza ended up getting killed. God killed and had an angel kill him and his son Ohijah. But the thing of it is, they're connected to all the giants that survived the flood. But even people that don't believe in the Bible and all that, whether it's Sumerian or if it's Abrahamic, whatever
there's proof of the text,
right? And all actually existed. All his bed is still there. The city he built, and his brother, they were both giants. Documented giants. The bed is like 15 cubits. It's like super big. They got stuff. So I thought that was pretty. But like you said, whether it's biblical or not, like me and you as African Americans, let me just say this. I was raised on the Bible, but if you talk to a real African scholar, he'll tell you, hey, look, brother, I feel sorry for you because, look, man, do you know Moses? He'll say, hey, look, the Hyksos came into the Nubian and the Nubian and Ethiopian empires that have been there 30,000 years before your Bible period. So these people, the Hyksos, came in and colonized. They were nice, and they let them come in, but then the Hyksos colonized them from 1900 BCE to 1545 into where the Nubians and the Ethiopians, the southern ones, they came together and drove them out. But those Hyksos became some of the Israelite slaves as well. So you got Moses' mother, whose mother was black. She had a baby by one of the Hyksos, but that was supposed to be taboo. So they talk about the baby in the reed floating down the river. But the baby was raised with the black family because he looked black. But guess what? He went to Anu University and studied the secrets of Osiris. That was the only formal education he had. They never said that. So he actually went to the Egyptian University of Anu. And so, you know, in Egypt, they had in that university, they had the 42 negatives. You know, right. You wake up and you say, no, I didn't, you know, covet my brother's good. No, I didn't hurt anybody. No, I didn't kill anybody. You know, you answer these 42 negatives, but they said the 10 Commandments mirrored some of the, you know, it's all kind of things that say Enoch consulted with the pyramids, the Egyptians, the timelines are all Smithsonian.
And people always say that there's not just 10 Commandments, it's 42, and that's where that comes from.
Right. Hey, Zendi, Marcus, look, we're running out of time, but I want also to cover Marcus is an urban cowboy, and this is very important, and he's a professional horseback rider. So, Marcus, how is it that you became this horseback rider?
Man.
And I see
that story right there.
Yeah, I see.
So my family has land in Oklahoma and Kansas. You know, we got quite a whole bunch of acres out there, and we do cattle and horses. So, you know, as a kid, I used to go out to Kansas and watch all my uncles ride until they actually finally let me get on. And once I got on, I never wanted to get off. So once we came back here to Sacramento, my grandfather, you know, he had a friend out in the Rio Linda area that used to give trail rides to people. And my mom put me on the horse. You know, I'm in the middle of my sister, and then me, then my mom in the back. You know, then my grandpa's ahead in the front. You know, we're going on a little trail ride. So, you know, my horse was a little spunky from the time I first met him. So, you know, he would kind of nip at me and stuff and bite. So, you know, I would just tap him on the nose, and they were like, he kind of knows what he's doing with these horses. He's never really been on one before. So I got on, and they said, the number one thing you don't do is flick the reins or kick real hard. Just sit on the horse and let the horse walk. So, you know, I was a hard-headed kid. First thing I did when I got on, I flicked those reins and I gave it a kick, and I was off to the races. So my grandpa had to run and catch up to me and get me off the horse. But I was gone for about a good 2 miles before he got me off. But I had full control over the horse, and I actually, you know, took really good growing towards it, you know, and I fell in love with it since that day. So ever since then, my mom's had me on a horse, and then I joined the military. I was actually in the cavalry regiment also, you know, staying up in Alaska. So, you know, my bread and butter in my life has been horseback riding, also with my family too. We got lineage that goes all the way down to the Spanish-American War, Buffalo Soldiers. So horses have always been into my lineage. Oh yeah. So I've had some stories from my family that, you know, horses have really saved their lives. So that's why we give our homage to everybody who's been on horseback. So what we do is we give free horseback riding lessons to kids. So I'm a part of a group called the Willtown Riders. And what we do is we're a nonprofit organization, and we go out and give underprivileged youth and up and coming youth the opportunity to experience the equine experience and also develop their lifestyle outside of the city life, to give them an opportunity to see what the country life is like, because it's real fresh, good air. You don't have to worry about, you know, somebody trying to shoot you or kill you or drugs being in your environment. You got a clean, nice, safe area. And that's something my mother introduced me into when I was a child. And that's something that I've been a part of, and the legacy of also the Pickett family, also the Bill Pickett Rodeo. I'm a part of the organization that actually deals with the Pickett family and teaches kids how to do roping, teaches kids how to do head and heel roping, cattle wrestling. And we have quite a few kids that are actually out in the professional world right now, the Bluebird Riders here out of Stockton, California, French Camp. You know, they're national champions for barrel racing, and ththese little girls are only 11 and 13 years old. So they're really doing their thing out here and putting the world out for Black cowboying and also the rodeo life in general. So it makes me feel good to know that I'm a part of an organization like that I can keep on being a motivation for all the children that are coming up in the world, that they have a good future for themselves, you know, and their families to come.
And I saw that your cousin was also too a horseback rider. And I just want to say, Phil's a former Marine. I'm former U.S. Army. thank you for your service.
Cool.
Hey, you ever need any volunteers to even just shovel anything, man? Hey, I'm serious for a purpose.
Honestly,
like
man, if you want to be a part of the group, I'm a part of the Northern Black California Horsemen Association, which is also affiliated with the Black Cowboy Coalition or the Cowboy Coalition. So we throw the Black Cowboy Parade every year in San Francisco and here in Sacramento. So we're very well known around the areas throughout the whole United States. So at the end of this month, we're going to have a big old camp out. It's probably going to have about 2,000 people over at our ranch. We're going to have vendors from all types, whether it's food and drink, water slides and different jump houses for the children, painting events, pony rides, horseback rides, trail ride that we have, line dancing competition. And we have a big old barn where we shoot pool and watch the games and stuff when they come on. So it's a good place to come to, man. If you don't have to volunteer, the only thing you got to do, you don't got to shovel no poop or nothing, but just volunteer your time.
It's such a good purpose, man. It's like that's what I tell a young man. I mean, success is cool, but at the while, you got to get a purpose like dedicated to more just yourself.
Exactly.
So some of us get that. And you know what I was gonna say about you, brother, before and pardon, a lot of us black people, if they haven't really seen a black cowboy, and I'm not trying to black, white, don't matter. I'm just saying a lot of people don't know of black cowboys. How do you feel and how do you I like the energy. How do you deal and feel about people that they think, hey, they see what the cowboy had, they don't, hey, look, man, this is not something that's new. We really do this, and you educate people. That's what I like. Well,
I put them on an education like this. So ever since slavery ended, what I'm saying, it's always been the black sharecropper that was the first original cowboy, because we were the ones that had to go wrangle the cattle and bring them back into the plantations. That we still had to go.
Reeves.
Yeah, Bass Reeves. So the guy who I ride with, he's one of the Pickett family. Bass Reeves is his great-great-great-grandfather. So Bill Pickett is Bass Reeves' son. So Bass Reeves and Bill Pickett is who throws the Bill Pickett rodeo every year. So that's where they come from.
And also, too, a lot of people don't realize this, but Bass Reeves was also, too, the inspiration for Zorro.
Yes.
And Zorro is the inspiration for Batman.
Yep, exactly. So they owe the Pickett family a whole bunch of royalties.
I mean, that's worse than the Matrix. Hey, that's worse than the Matrix. Marques.
Yeah, black woman wrote the Matrix.
Right.
Yeah.
All the money she was all.
Oh, no, not only that, you're talking about the Matrix. Our next week on Tuesday, we got Tom Alderhouse, and he claims he wrote the Matrix. So we're gonna grill him. We're gonna grill him. I rode horses at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. I did pretty good. I learned how to ride horses at Sanchez Adobe Ranch off of Highway number 1. That was my first girlfriend, Raquel Nunez, father. He owned the ranch, and he used to make me shovel horse shit.
Oh yeah, that's where I started out too.
Hey, you better do it, man. Listen, I cannot. I told Marques I can't ride a horse. The one time I really remember being on a horse, other than like some pony in Frontier Village, I got on a real horse and he took off on me. You know what? We were on the side of a mountain, like where really it was nobody to really hit. How your grandfather caught up to the horse. They weren't that adept. So I'm like, it's pretty much by myself. But luckily, somebody did. But it was, to me, it was scary. I was like, man. But I respect them. I love how they look. And part of it's not fear. It's just that, like, I feel, as I told you before, I like them to look at. I don't feel like I feel like, man, they carrying me. I don't want, even though I know they're strong as hell, I probably just don't realize how strong they are. And I probably feel like a flea on the back of them,
Oh yeah, their horses are so strong. They, like I said before, they can control every single fiber of their muscle strand in their body. So
yeah, say that again, please. For the audience, Marques, when we was talking before, he told me some real valuable information about the sensitivity of a horse. I never heard this before.
Oh yeah, so horses are so sensitive because they're grounded animals. There's something that Mother Nature has always been connected with. Ever since the story they save the animals based on the fact that they always live the same as if they lived in the Garden of Eden. So God had favor for them, right? So God still has favor for them to give them the ability to sense and to feel when something has them in danger. So say when you have the bit in the horse's mouth and you're touching the reins, the horse's skin is about as thin as paper. So when you touch a horse, they feel everything just like you feel with your fingertips, or every single inch of their bodies. So when you put your fingertips and you're holding the reins, the horse can sense and feel your heartbeat through the reins. They can feel your pressure, and you can feel your heartbeat through all your thighs. Because think, when you're sitting on the saddle, right? All your hot spots in your body, it's like your inner thighs, your groin area. That's where you can use to take your pulse in your neck area, in your hands, in your armpits, and your shins and your kneecaps. Anywhere you touch in your body, you can pretty much get a pulse as long as you got a vein there. And a horse will feel every single bit of that nervousness you have based on when you before you feel them, when you touch their face and your heart rates a certain way. After you get on top of them and they feel that heart rate start to elevate, a horse is like, okay, this guy's nervous now. I can feel his heart rate accelerating, which means when my heart rate accelerates, that means I'm in the flight or fight mode. You know what I'm saying? So that's the same thing that they understand within us. When our heart rate starts to accelerate, we're in that flight or fight mode, which is either I'm going to hurt this horse or I'm nervous, which horses are packing. You make a horse move their feet, follow that. Yeah. If anybody wants to follow me, you can follow at Cowboy Marques on TikTok. You know, I got quite a few videos of my horse rearing up on me. And it's, you know, the first time it happened, you know, I was kind of shocked and surprised because we were just standing there. And, you know, a horse got that fast twitch muscle as I was speaking about before. So all of a sudden he just, whoop, we're in the air. And I'm just like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. I didn't expect that. And the only thing, and the reason why I did that is because I had his curb chain under his chin too tight, which is the brakes for the horse. I had it a little too tight. And when I pulled back, you know, to have him try to back up, and he just goes on the rear hinds. I was like, oh man, that's kind of crazy. But I love adrenaline. So, you know, that's one thing that made me kind of want to keep doing it.
And it's so much fun when, especially if he's predictable and then the horse is good with it. It's like a jumper. If you have a jumper that is predictable and likes it, it's like that's all you want to do after that.
Oh yeah. Off top.
Hey, you guys, I have to apologize. Okay. And the reason why I have to apologize is because that Bass Reeves was the inspiration for the Lone Ranger.
Hi ho Silver.
That's right. He was the inspiration for, and it was Joaquin Marietta who was the inspiration for Zorro. And Zorro was the inspiration for Batman. So I really apologize. So, hey, I wanted to ask you, Marques, if I could put you in a time machine and take you back into the old West, would you like being an outlaw or a lawman?
I would like being a lawman. You know, I stand up for what's right, which is the reason why I joined the military. You know, there's a whole bunch of forces in the world that stand for evil, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that those bad boys are taken right out of that act of corruption. It doesn't matter if you're a kid, doesn't matter if you're a grown up. You know, if you're a kid, I'll grab you by that hand and spank that ass. But if you're a grown man, sometimes it takes a pistol or a jail cell to get you in your right mind frame. And what I see today is that a lot of the youth don't really have that upbringing that they used to have in the West, which is a hard one because everybody's been spoon-fed with all this sensitivity where they don't know how to handle their pain. You know, all these different things that are out here in the world don't allow you to be a grown-up. They allow you to be a child continuously in your life and your development that you need to be able to deal with your pain and be able to deal with the world around you is just kind of absent. You know, so I think that if I was back in the 1800s, back in those days, I would most definitely be a lawman to keep the corruption away and also keep the cycle of living going and keeping the people that aren't supposed to be away. You know, so, you know, that's what I would most definitely be. Outlaws, they only last so long, but the good hearts, even though they might die early, they always last in here and they always last in here. The stories live forever. It's the legacy you pass on by being a lawman. But outlaws, a lot of times they don't have children because they die too early to even meet a woman because they're always on the run, you know. But for me, as you see my beautiful family I got behind me, you know, I want them to have a legacy to live forward to. So I say I would live to be most definitely a lawman back then if I had a time machine, most definitely.
That was good, Marques. And also too, like the old West is very fascinating. I love the history and everything else. I've been to Tombstone, Arizona.
Oh,
and I saw the OK Corral and all that. And and the things didn't. The shootout wasn't even at the OK Corral. It was like in a back alley.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Billy the Kid's grave in New Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's a very well, right here in Sacramento. We had Black Bart.
Okay.
Yeah, Black Bart was doing his thing up in Sonora and everything else, and Black Bart really confused me because he went to so many places from San Francisco to Sacramento to Sonora, and he didn't like riding horses.
Hmm.
How do you walk
Right.
this far? I don't understand.
Well, the thing is, he might not like walking, and might not like riding horses, but they got covered wagons and different trail animals that you can ride on. But for me, what I'm saying, I think that he did the same thing Lois and Clark did. Sacagawea wasn't really on a horse; she was on barefoot, carrying the baby on her back through the Lois and Clark Trail, through Montana, Colorado, and all those places with just some basic moccasins and some skins on. She didn't really have a whole bunch of extra jackets like people have these days. They don't really acclimatize themselves to the weather. But Sacagawea is the true inspiration and, the definition of Mother Nature. She connected with the land, she connected with the people, she connected with the environment, and was able to take on all the adverse conditions of the world, with a baby on her back,
And you mentioned Lewis and Clark. In Franklin, California, you have a Lewis and Clark person buried there at the Franklin Cemetery.
That's crazy. When I was actually in Montana, I actually did a little tour, backpacking tour through the Lewis and Clark Trail in Great Falls. So they have a Lewis and Clark Trail there also that goes all the way up to Helena and Missoula. They walked a long way. So when I'm talking about through some really rugged terrain, having to traverse cliffs and mountainsides. And for me to know that they have a Lewis and Clark person here, it's like their lineage, like I said, travels all the way from that side of the world, as a continent, all the way here.
And you're from Montana.
Speaking of Lewis and Clark.
No, I'm from right here in Sacramento, but I was actually I had two branches of service. I was in the Air Force also. I was actually working on nuclear missile propulsion systems out in Malmstrom Air Force Base. But I did blue to green and joined the Army to finish out my time because my missile wing was closing down. So I got a lot of
I have a relative from Deer Lodge, Montana.
Okay, that's about a good probably 2 hours away from there. Yep.
Yeah.
Marcus.
Uh-huh.
Marcus, did you hear about Lewis and Clark, the village of giants they discovered?
I heard some of it,
Yeah,
but not too much.
Yeah, they said that they said that they had come across a graveyard at first that had like huge skeletons, like average 9 feet. There wasn't just like a few of them. It was a burial site. And then they said that they saw some women like 8 feet range and men a little taller, but moving like a 5'8" man, like really. And they described these walls, but I hadn't heard too much about that, but I heard the guy on Art Bell's show like in the 90s talking about that.
Man, that's crazy. I can only imagine of a person being 9 feet tall, moving like a person that's 5 feet. It's like when you think about a person saying if a roach was the size of a human, they'd be able to sprint about 300, 400 miles an hour. So if you can move like a 5-foot person and your leg span is, maybe like 74, 75 inches easy, in your,
that's like the Kandahar Giants, the ones that the military supposed to, they got that thing down up on them real fast, and it went like 13 feet, 14 feet, as the story goes. People, if our audience isn't familiar with the Kandahar Giant, it's the one that killed the whole army unit, took him out, and then they they actually took him out, and when they put him on the gurney was they said the gurney was like 707 pounds, and it was like 11 feet long. And when they put him on, it weighed it had an extra like 1,300 some pounds on it, and his feet overlapped off the thing. So that they said it stunk to high heaven. High heck, I should say. I shouldn't say heaven.
I can only imagine because especially if you were a giant, you don't know nothing about no soap.
Hey, listen, he was eating. They said he made some kind of fake shoe, like he had some kind of wrap. And then they said that they say he'd eat all kind of sheep, eating all kind of stuff, but they saw a lot of broken equipment when they first came. They didn't know what to think when they came up on the site because they saw all this military, all this broken equipment, and they were like, what's going on? But the thing came out of the tunnel. It came out of the cave with almost like a spear, and it was impelling. They were shooting. They said the bullets weren't really hitting, so they said aim for the head and the face, and they said that was doing a little damage. But it took him a minute. They said he was like really fast. Rick was like he got a few of them before they took him out, as the story goes. But
that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That's pretty
the
wild.
Kandahar Giant. Check it out. But he had red hair, and he resembled the red hair giants of the Ohio Valley, which is another great story. But they're similar. I heard them, the red hair giants in Nevada. So it's a story about those red hair giants that's pretty prevalent.
We
I got that.
Giants.
Would you say, Phil?
Sorry, Marcus. We have. I mean, you think about an NBA player that's let's say 6'8", 6'9". Some of these guys get down the court pretty fast, faster than I can run. So right. I mean, that's gotta be terrifying seeing a guy pushing 7 feet coming after you that fast.
Exactly.
All night long.
Yes, Usain Bolt is 6'3" or 6'4", and you see he's the fastest man in the world based on his stride length that he has down the stretch. So you see a person that's like 7 foot, 8 foot, 9 foot tall, able to move like a 5 foot. That's like Muggsy Bogues having the juice he has at like 7, 8 feet tall. That's unheard of. So you see that type of speed that's out there, like Usain Bolt was inside of a 9, 10 foot person, and woo, that boy is moving.
Terrifying.
Oh yeah, you can't.
And you were saying about hygiene. Andre the Giant, they said he could never. He was on the road his entire career. They couldn't keep him in one territory, so the poor guy could never fit in any of the hotels he went to. He could never fit into the bathrooms.
Man,
so, I mean, just like trying to use a toilet or get into a shower when the shower head comes up to here on you.
Yeah, I've been in one of those too overseas. It's like hold on a second. The average height is only 5'5". So I'm 6'2". So now I'm sitting here trying to take a shower. I'm looking like, let me take the removable head off, but it's still not long enough when it stretches out. So now I'm still crouching down, spraying from underneath my chin to wash myself.
My son's in the Air Force. He's active duty now. He's over in Italy, and he bought himself. Aviano, yeah, exactly. He built himself a little Mini Cooper convertible, and he's like 6'4". Oh. So he looks like a circus bear driving a Matchbox car.
He looks like Shaquille O'Neal in that Miata commercial.
Yeah, exactly. It's laughable, to see somebody like that squeeze into something small. But yeah, there are just some big people in the world.
Oh yeah. Most of my family on the East Coast is about that size. So I had an uncle that was 7'4", and then I got hit. All my aunties, the shortest is 5'9", and everybody else is 5'10", 5'11", 6 feet. So my family's big. And what's crazy about it is my grandma, she was only like 5'6". It's like that. Yeah. So I'm thinking I might have a little bit of giant lineage in my family also, and a little bloodline in there. Somewhere.
7'4" is a giant.
Yeah,
that is a legit giant.
400. He was 480 pounds.
So, yeah, I mean, just the height alone, that's taller than Andre the Giant was. That's taller than what the tallest NBA player was. Maybe 7'8". Was that?
Yeah, 7'8". Yeah, I think that was the not Mutombo. What was that?
Manute Bol.
Yeah, Manute Bol.
But they got a new dude, a young cat. He's like 7'9", and he can really play.
The guy just stands there and dunks the ball, right?
Yeah, man. And they had a couple of them, but I don't know. They got a couple of them, like, right around that time. It's gonna be crazy, like you said, man. I mean, and they get dexterous, So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it really how you generate your speed. Like, I always been shorter than everybody, but like I was a 40 dude and 100 dude. And the thing of it is, when I race guys, it's like 6'3", 6'4", their legs, it's generating a different way, but it's like, you can't underestimate it. It doesn't look like it's going that fast, but it's like a 10-speed wheel when you put on the high gears like that. Now my sons are taller than me. They got the height and the fast twitch. So like, they put it in gear. I remember one time this dude said, hey man, he was with the Santa Monica Track Club or whatever. And he was like, yeah, I'm fast, this and that. And my son would say, I'm fast. So he said, what about you? I said, I don't know. He said, I think I bet you I could, beat you. And I said, you got to beat my son first before you even race me. So he said, what? He said, okay. So we lined up, and I said, ready, set, go. And they took off, but I didn't take off. And he looked, and it kind of started him because I didn't actually go. But my son, he had like, in 2 or 3 steps, he was already like, you know, like 20 yards to where I told him, I said, listen, man, don't get mad at me because I did that. You know you wasn't going to win anyway. You was way back there. Like, just look. And but the tall people with, you know, with that stride and that, I mean, this is a deadly combination. All the men that were receivers, 6'2", 6'1", man. I'm surprised they didn't. I know they probably try to recruit you to play a baseball or something, man.
I actually ran track. I was a part of the ran junior national team when I was younger. So I was in the Junior Olympics. You know, so my fastest time in 100, you know, it was like 10.3, 10.4.
Oh, you was 110.3. Oh man.
Yeah,
wow.
that was when I was 17.
Man, that's
17 years old running that. So that's why
a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know about the 100. If your top end speed, you decelerating and you holding that speed longer and stronger than everybody else. See, people get it twisted, you know.
Yeah, because I ran a 200. I ran a 21:02 and a 200. So I was almost down in my sub 20s. You know what I'm saying? Or high 20s. So, you know, they were just 21. Like, man, if you keep going, man. But, you know, I've made different decisions in life. I joined the military instead. So, you know, my mom wanted to kill me. But, you know, I just needed to feel like I had a purpose. And for me, you know, it wasn't really serving my community in the way I wanted to. So I chose the military instead. You know, there's more value in that than me being somebody that people envy for certain things and not for the right things.
Yeah. I got a theory about the touchdown. I'll tell you about that later. Touchdown. Like how you from Pop Warner to up, you first it's pom-poms, then it's scoreboards, then it's endorsements, then it's money. The touchdown become more severe every time, but it start like when you're young to where we could have started with some other thing concept besides touchdown.
Exactly.
You know, yeah,
exactly. Because you're gonna touch down at the end of your days and realize that, man, everybody envies me for playing these sports, but nobody really sees me for the contributions I've truly given for the community, like the relationships I've developed. Because once you get to being such a famous star, you can't go out into the community and really be who you are and
get out on
be a facade for what everybody else wants to see and what they want you to be and not what you want to create for somebody in the world. So you have to open up all these organizations and everything, you know, to be, you know, pretty much a figure of someone's imagination, you know, instead of you being who you are to help guide them into the future, you know. And, you know, a lot of that stuff comes with problems. Bodyguards, crazy ladies, you know. You know how how you see in the ESPN.
I mean, success got to be. I asked the young man. I said, "What's your number one thing?" You know, and I tell him if it ain't success. I mean, and if they anything to do with sex, we know that's a substitute they'll never do. It's like, but I tell him, man, you got to get a purpose. By the time you know you get a man, like what you know, if you got 10 dudes like you, me, or Paul, or Phil on the city block, the kids are gonna be safe. Put it that way, you know.
Exactly.
And by the time you get a certain age, you're gonna have your standards. And you know, the sum total of your manhood, what like you really standing for, you'll find it out. Now we all got problems and we got relationships and stuff, but ultimately, like if you see a lady need help, you know, or older lady or somebody in trouble, it's like which way you go, and we discussed that. So yeah, I mean, you won't be one side or the other side. Hey Phil, I know you a stand up too, dude. Hey Phil, can you tell me anytime you had to like stand up, like to do something where like help somebody, like where somebody else wouldn't have like helped them? I know you got some examples like that because you military too, man.
Mm-hmm.
Examples?
Yeah.
Trying to think about it. I don't like the
anybody broke down or had to help somebody in trouble. Somebody.
I mean, yeah. Hell, 15 years old. You know, jump out of a car, push somebody. You know, old woman, car breakdown, pushed her across the street. You know, but I mean that's
okay.
You know,
that's obviously
help people change the tires. I mean,
also,
I was also the oldest out of my 3 younger brothers, so I always had to step in. That's I'd chase down.
That's right.
Try to push my brothers around.
You're home by yourself, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I have to ask Marcus something real quick. Marcus, I took my basic at Fort Ord, California.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you take your basic at?
Also, my first basic training was when I joined the Air Force was at Lackland Air Force Base in Burn, Texas.
Okay.
Which was a really nice base. And then after I got out the Air Force and joined the Army, they sent me to one station unit training over to Fort Knox, Kentucky, where they say it's the home.
I was at Fort Knox.
I couldn't stand Fort Knox. It was the most humidest place I've ever been in my life. I was like, oh my gosh.
Fort Knox.
They made me
Fort Knox.
They made me an OP4 instructor, opposing forces.
Yeah.
And I was saying, the Soviet soldier is and must be considered a formidable foe. We must understand why and what makes them a good soldier.
That's hilarious you said that. Because I was OP4 also, but in our field FTX, our field training exercises, we had to do reconnaissance and set up field observation posts, you know what I'm saying? And then, observation posts for enemy forces. So we were doing scouting. So we were pretty much doing something called a salute report. It was size, activity, location, unit time, and equipment. And then we would work on sending that information up and then trying to set up bounding forces, so we would switch sides to try to come up with an idea on how to actually overtake the enemy positions, because they would have observation posts, but the camouflaging, covering concealment, if it wasn't good, then they had to switch. And nobody likes playing OP4 because everybody knows you're coming. So everybody's up on alert all night, just waiting for you.
and I taught Soviet threats. So So the West system, wings, engine, fuselage, tail section, the kill zones. And do you still do cadence, like count, cadence, lay, cadence, count, cadence, count?
Oh, yeah.
Here. Yeah.
We still do that too. You know what I'm saying? We still do that. Then we do the airborne shuffle, of course, and then we had the C-130 rolling down airborne rays on the one-way trip.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Two old ladies laying in bed. One rolled over, the other one said, "I want to be an airborne ranger."
Yeah. Or what's that one? My buddy's in his foxhole, a bullet in his head. The medic say he's wounded, but I know that he's dead.
Oh yeah, they chased it around.
Shoot the son of a bitch, Ranger. Shoot the son of a bitch. That was one of my favorite ones right there. Or the little bird. The little bird. Have you heard that?
Hit that one. Hit that one, man.
No. Let's hear it.
The little bird with the little bill was sitting on my windowsill. A yellow bird with a yellow bill was sitting on my windowsill.
You fucking head. I know that one.
Moral of the story is to get some bread. You need to get some head. You need some bread.
Okay. Wait. I got another one, Marcus. They say that in the Army, the chow was mighty fine. A chicken rolled off the table and killed a friend of mine.
Yes,
oh, Lord, I want to go.
Lord, let me go.
No, then they say in the Army, the money's mighty fine. They give you $100 and take back 99. And then the other one is, they say that in the Army, the whacks are mighty fine. They look like Phyllis Diller and walk like Frankenstein.
That's what we call the monster masters when they couldn't march. They be with the same leg.
The monster master.
You gotta give us a cadence song. You gotta give us a cadence song.
You know, my girl's a vegetable.
No,
Hit it.
My girl's a vegetable. She lives in a hospital, and I would do anything to keep that girl alive. She has no arms or legs. All she has are hooks and pegs. I would do anything to keep my girl alive. One day I played a joke. I pulled the cord and I watched her choke. I would do anything to keep my girl alive. Really far, it's pretty sick.
Hooks and pegs.
Remember, in the Army, there was always Jody was messing around with your girl back home.
Jody,
Jody got the girl to go.
That damn Jody! If I catch that Jody, I swear to God.
Man.
And for you three gentlemen that all been in the service, let me ask you a question because my father said this. I don't know what y'all feel about this. Or two things. Number one, which movie to you guys was the realest military movie? And two, is it true that you really don't know where like some of your friends in your life or guys that said it this or that, you don't know where they stand until you see them in a firefight?
Yeah, so a lot really true because a lot of guys they can be all gung ho, talk all that shit, you know what I'm saying? But as soon as you start hearing those hisses and pop, there's a different part that comes out when you hear that snap crackle pop and you know it's close, and a lot of guys their training goes right out the window. So as soon as you start hearing those things or you see one of your buddies fall, rest in peace, man, Alameda Nordemeyer, you know what I'm saying? Three of my good fallen soldier buddies that passed in the firefight, you know, um, those guys stood bravely and stood fast in the midst of danger. They got shot, they died, they gave the ultimate sacrifice, and I commend them for their sacrifice for the country. But a lot of guys don't have the heart. They might talk the talk and walk the walk. They might be combat. They might be what do we call it? We call them gear warriors. You know what I'm saying? They have all the gear. They go on 511 tactical and buy all the pouches and the mag pouches and go on mag pool and got all the cleanest gear and they keep their weapons so clean. But when it comes down to fire it, they hesitate. They're afraid to stick their head above that berm to see where the actual contact is coming from. And it's guys like, you and I, saying that to stick their heads up and actually go ahead and reflex and fire back to contact. It's not a lot of guys out there like that. And this new generation, I think they rely more on technology because, we don't really have as many numbers of soldiers that all the other countries do. So a lot of guys don't want to die. They're in fear of dying. So what they do is they just want to look better in their uniform to hope people forget, about their lack of courage and their cowardly ways. So, I just think that, for me, the new world is the new world. I accept it, but there's some things that need to change. Some things need to change. And this new war that's coming, as we all see, is one that is going to be against an opposing forces that actually have the same technology we have. So it's not going to be like guys in Iraq to where they surprise, out of a Distasha, or call them Manro. It's going to be, hey, it's it's going to be one of actual military technology and advancement. So. Get prepared, guys.
Right after 9/11, I wanted to go back into the service, and they told me I was too old.
Damn, you're that old, Paul? Man!
I'm 70 years old.
But it's amazing, though. You still remember the songs, and, you are old enough, But, and Phil, I want to ask you, do you think we have any weapons that are surprises? In fact, like, they just haven't said anything. Like, how the big boy was announced at the last minute or, was dropped. And a surprise. Do you think we have stuff like that to where if something did jump off, we'd have another level? Or do you think it is what it is? Like Marcus just said, there's no surprises.
I think right now we still are outgun any other place, any other nation on earth. I just think flat out. I think our old weaponry, our stuff that's 40, 50 years old is still more than most of the nations on earth can handle. Mm-hmm. I mean, flat out, we're using 50-year-old aircraft that no one else on earth can touch. Exactly. Let alone the brand new stuff that we have that, is like otherworldly. If you've just seen an air show and seen what our new X-jets and things can do, you would not believe how maneuverable these things are. And then if you don't really get into unmanned aircraft, like what drones can actually do. So no, there's nothing else out there that can touch it. As far as what an American soldier, a well-trained American soldier can do, I still think we're the best on earth.
Oh yeah, we're most definitely the best on earth. You being a combat soldier myself, like you said, the technological advancements that we have on all the other countries sets us apart. And on top of that, like, you got planes like the SR-71 that was flying 80, 90,000 feet in the 50s, right? In the 50s and going 2,500, 3,500 miles per hour. You can't touch that. That thing is outrunning SAM sites. So it's like, when you think about the technology today, they're flying twice as fast. And on top of that, they're stealth. So, and then have you guys heard of the augmented reality goggles that they have out now?
Yeah.
I heard about it.
Crazy. They actually so augmented reality outlines the body shape of an enemy combatant. So you guys have ever heard of a Blue Force tracker? So a Blue Force tracker is a module that they have inside all the military combat vehicles that has GPS and navigates where every single combat vehicle is on the combat zone, right? So then when it comes down to the Blue Force tracker seeing what the enemy's doing, like we have something called an LRAD that could see like 5K out, right? Night vision and everything. But the augmented reality has the same thing inside of it, but it outlines all the friendly soldiers' bodies in brown. So you know there's not going to be any more friendly fire because you're friendly. You can't even shoot. Your weapon won't even shoot if you're pointing at somebody that's on a friendly fire.
The
friendly force. So as soon as you see a guy, just like the track point rifle, you ever heard of that?
No, but I get the concept.
Okay, so a track point rifle is this: you laser target, you press it right on the top of your M68 or whatever you got, and then the aim point is you have a laser, right? As soon as you pull the trigger, it won't fire. As soon as you touch that dot on that dot, it fires for you automatically.
Wow.
You pass it.
So everything's a
100%
smart
accurate every time. Yep.
Oh well,
It's better than a toy.
It better.
Marcus, what was your MOS?
A 19 Delta.
19 Delta. And what's
Cavalry
that?
Scout. So I was a cowboy in the Army.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yep. So what I did was reconnaissance for all the different special forces groups. So when I deployed to Iraq, I was doing reconnaissance for the 3rd Special Forces Group. So I got a chance to go around with the Green Berets and make sure that they had everything that they needed for all their missions. So, and then I would call for fire for them. I call close air support. I would call artillery. And I will also call, howitzer fire. So other artillery. You know what I'm saying? So I had a couple A-10 Warthog calls for fire. You know what I'm saying? I called in quite a few Hellfire missiles on some guys. You know what I'm saying? Blew up. Once I told you my friends passed away over in Iraq. We dropped like 5 Hellfire missiles on them, a couple 5,000-pound JDAMs. You know, let their ass have it. So blew in the smithereens.
I was a 97 Bravo intelligence analyst. I was stationed at the 501st Military Intelligence Battalion in Seoul, Korea. And
you were in Seoul? Oh man, you had the time of your life.
Oh yeah, Itaewon.
You was over there with them juicy girls, huh? Yeah, you was over there with them juicy girls.
But yeah.
Spit it out. Spill that cheek.
You start blushing. His cheeks is red. Look, his cheeks is red.
Come on, Bob.
But anyway, wow. Oh, but okay. Now check this out, Marcus. Okay, 73 to 76. Mm-hmm. Okay, I went in as an MP, military policeman.
Okay.
And when I got to Germany, they had a thing called the khaki mafia, and they were distributing narcotics, prostitution, the whole works. So I got to work with the drug suppression team undercover with CID Criminal Investigation Division. And I know you know CID. I know you do.
Yeah, most definitely know CID. Those guys walk around plain clothes. They're all the military bases, whether Army, Air Force, Marines, Navy, anything. And you'll never know until they
Oh yeah. And check this out. And they recruited me, and they recruited other MPs. So there was a lot of MPs working with CID, but they